This particular episode for Housewives of Atlanta, nope. Take three. 3, 2. Welcome to the Real Housewives News Network. No commentary, just the stories. And I'm your host, Taylor J. Now here on this YouTube channel, we're going to be recapping all of your favorite Real Housewives episodes across the franchises. And just a little bit about me. I have been a Bravo enthusiast since I can't even say when. I've been watching since being Bobby Brown days, which was way back then. Keeping consistent, loving the Real Housewives. I consider myself a super fan, and so I'm really excited to take this opportunity to just recap and chat with you guys and see what you think about these episodes as well. So let's get started. Tonight we're talking RHOA season 15 episode 3, and the title of this episode is A Star is Reborn, which we're going to get into in a few minutes. But one thing, if you noticed that this was the first episode that we got the taglines for this season, that was something that we've been anticipating for a while, especially since RHOA has a new look, they have a new opening, they have new cast photos, and everything looks great. But the taglines, let's go through them one by one and see what you guys think. So we're going to start with Kandi, and hers says, "My roots are in Atlanta, but my branches are worldwide." If you remember last season, Marlo was coming for Kandi a little bit and told her that she was only known in Atlanta, in which Kandi responded, "Bleep, I'm worldwide." So that's hers. Sedora, "Forget the gaslight, I'm taking the spotlight." And "Forget the gaslight" comes in reference to her relationship with her husband, Ralph. They're actually in the middle of getting a divorce right now. Very sorry to hear about that. Definitely don't want to see families breaking up, but at the same time, she's taking it in stride, as she's saying that she's taking the spotlight, in which we see in this episode, which we're going to discuss, that she is trying to make a new career move. Now, our third is from Miss Marlo Hampton. "My past may be checkered, but my future is solid gold." As you know, Marlo has had some run-ins with the law through the years, and so this sounds like she's being a little bit optimistic about what's to come for her. Then Kenya Moore, Miss Twirl, she says, "I don't just do it for the culture, honey, I am the culture." As you know, she was Miss USA, she's acted, she's modeled, she's had a lot of great things going for herself, so that's Kenya's tagline. Now Sheree, "She by Sheree, more like she broke the internet." Now her tagline I've been seeing on Twitter has had people with all types of different reactions, mainly referring to Sheree as delusional, because as you know, she launched She by Sheree after X amount of years last year. After the reunion, I want to say, the website went live and the link broke. No one was really able to buy anything, so she's saying that she broke the internet because of that. And then last but not least, we have Miss Sonia Richards-Ross, and she says, "If you can't keep the pace, stay out of my race." As we know, she is an Olympian track runner, so this makes a lot of sense for her as well. So what I want to know is, what do you think of these taglines? Definitely let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite, which one do you think could have been better, or which would you have given them instead? And while you're down there, too, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, again, the name of this episode is A Star is Reborn, which is a nod to Sedora, who is trying to make a career transition. She wants to become more of a singer. And also, a quick note, this episode also includes a Real Housewives crossover, because we get an appearance from Candace Dillard Bassett from Real Housewives of Potomac. We'll get to that a little later. Now, if you remember like I do, I was first introduced to Sedora years ago from the sitcom The Game, where she starred as herself on the show. Tia Mowry, Pooch Hall were on that show as well. And she was Sedora. She was a musical artist. And so basically she was working with Derwin. He was like her video guy, and it ended up turning into a romantic relationship between them two, which ultimately led to Derwin and Melanie breaking up and everybody hating Sedora. So that was a little awkward, but besides the point, we have seen her acting in other films as well. She actually portrayed T-Boz in the TLC biopic that was shown on VH1 years ago, and she did a great job with that as well. But now she wants to do her own thing and really break out and sing. Last week we saw her and her husband Ralph in the studio, and they were playing a song of hers called Already Know. It's either Already Know or You Already Know. Let me look that up. So last week we saw Drew and her husband Ralph in the studio, and they were playing a single of hers called Already Know, where Ralph is the producer. And it's interesting because a lot of people have been saying on Twitter that Ralph has never been known to be a producer. Like, how did he end up on this? But whatever. But it was during that moment that she shared how her music career never really took off, and so she wants to try it again. So she did a little song last week, and we got to hear her sing a little bit. So she asked Ralph how he felt about her taking a step out of being a housewife, taking care of the kids 24/7, and chasing her music dreams. And so Ralph says that he supports it and that that's always been the plan for them, and he sees them as Ike and Tina. We're going to put a record scratch in there, like a little right there. Later in the episode, Drew gets a phone call from Candace Dillard Bassett. That's the Real Housewives of Potomac crossover that we see. And so Candace is on tour. As we know, she's doing her singing thing. She has an album out. She's been going to different cities and venues performing. And so she's going to be making a stop in Atlanta. And initially, she was going to invite Shamari DeVoe to be her special guest. Now, Shamari was a former housewife, and she only had one season. But Shamari was in the group Black, and she's also married to Ronnie DeVoe of New Edition, and Shamari can sing. But since Shamari couldn't make it, she asked Drew if she wanted to do it and join in, and so Drew said yes, and we end up seeing them perform together at the concert. It was kind of like a call and response type thing. Candace kind of singing a line, and then Drew following up behind her with the line, so it wasn't very long. Needless to say, the ladies were very underwhelmed by that performance. But hey, it was Drew coming out, she was doing her thing. She was excited about it, and she saw it as a step forward in her breaking out into the music career. So we're going to see how it goes. So what do you think about Drew and her making this effort to become a singer? Do you think that she will have success? I mean, we've seen a lot of housewives through the years trying to make their mark singing. We've seen Kitten Zolciak. We've seen who else? Luann, and it's actually working okay for Luann from Real Housewives of New York. We have Candace, Melissa Gorga from Real Housewives of New Jersey, and even Jo from the very, very first season of Real Housewives of Orange County. She tried singing too, but none of it really stuck. So do you think that Drew has a chance? Let us know down in the comments. So next up, even after 10 years or so, things still don't seem to be getting any better between Mama Joyce and Todd. Now, we first met Todd in season 5 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. He and Kandi met during season 4 when the ladies took a trip to South Africa. Phaedra Parks actually introduced the two of them. Todd was working behind the scenes in production on the show. But from the time that he and Kandi started dating, he moved in with her into her home. Mama Joyce has been less than impressed with him. So Mama Joyce, she always insisted that Todd never had a good job and that he was an opportunist trying to come up off of Kandi, because we know that Kandi has so much success through her Grammys, you know, writing songs, being a part of Escape, producing, all the amazing things that she's doing. And Mama Joyce just felt like Todd was trying to come up off of her. But I mean, to be fair, Todd has his own things going on. Again, he was producing for the show, and he also produced shows for TV One. I believe he did R&B Divas. And also he was the mastermind behind OLG, the Old Lady Gang restaurant down in Atlanta, which is owned by Kandi and Todd. They also opened Blaze together, and those survived the pandemic. So, I mean, Todd is doing his thing. He also wants to produce a movie, which they have been talking about as well. So, you know, Mama Joyce has always been coming down very hard on him regardless. You know, he's tried many times to show Mama Joyce that he's there for Kandi, that he doesn't want anything from her, that he just loves her. And I think that he showed the audience the same as well by enduring a lot of the things that he has gone through with Mama Joyce and still staying there. But now, based on what we saw in this episode, it is getting worse. So it all went down last year at BravoCon in New York City. Mama Joyce was on a panel with her sisters, Aunt Bertha and Aunt Nora, aka the OLGs. And Mama Joyce was asked what type of man, or what's the ideal man that she would want for Kandi. And her response was, quote, "I would have picked anyone who had a decent job." So, of course, that was an obvious dig at Todd, and it got back to him through his daughter Kayla. He brought it up to Kandi, and now Kandi is saying that she hasn't spoken with her mother since that happened. And Todd says that he's just trying to be cool about it. But in Kandi's confessional, she said she's tired of the antics with her mother, especially because their kids Ace and Blaze are young and they could eventually see all the bad things that Mama Joyce has said about Todd through the years, which makes it really tough. And according to Kandi, she's at a point where she doesn't care what her mother thinks about her marriage. She just wants her to respect them. And we have seen through season after season people saying that Kandi needs to step up to her mother to, check her in a respectful way, because this could really cause damage to Todd and Kandi's relationship. He has endured a lot through the years. Don Juan and friend of the show, Monyetta Shaw, they're encouraging Kandi to speak up to Mama Joyce, but will she do it? Do you guys believe that after all this time, she's finally going to dig her heels in when it comes to her mother's comments about her marriage? Or do you think she's going to continue to let it fly? I don't know. Leave those comments down below. Now to our final top story of the night. The saga and the drama between Courtney and Candy continues. So if you don't know, over the first 2 episodes, we see that Sheree's friend of the show, Courtney, has been going around and saying that Candy has been calling people, saying that Courtney has been saying that she's a friend of Candy's. And Candy's like, I don't know her, who is this woman that's saying these things? And so Courtney decides that she wants to get upset about it and confronts Kandi at Sonya's husband's birthday party. And the two go head to head, so much so that Kandi says she wants to headbutt this bee, referring to Courtney. She doesn't actually headbutt her, which is fine. But then it just kind of goes to the left even more, resulting in a near physical altercation because Kandi is saying that Courtney was a little too animated. She was aggressive. She was moving her hands. She was bucking at her. So I guess Kandi kind of felt like she needed to be defensive. And that was kind of left there. So this week, it comes up that Kandi's adding more fuel to the fire by sharing that she went to an event that was hosted by Kandi, and Kandi allegedly brought out a, quote, ghetto crowd. So she said she shared that with Sonya and Sheree. Sonya took it back to Kandi. And so after Candace and Drew's performance at the City Winery, Kandi confronts Courtney. But then Courtney decides that she wants to kind of backtrack a little bit by saying that she meant nothing by it, that she was born in the hood, that she loves ghetto people, that she grew up in the ghetto, and Candy's not having it. She fires back by telling her that she shouldn't look down on the places that people come from, and that regardless, Kandi brings everyone out. I mean, because like she said in her tagline, she's worldwide. So Kenya actually points out that Courtney was being aggressive, again, with her hand motions and her hand movements and things of that nature. So it doesn't seem like this feud is going to die down at all anytime soon. But also in this same scene, we see that a feud is starting to brew between Marlo and Monyetta based on things that happened last season. And then it gets a little awkward with Marlo. She kind of blasts off at Drew because the situation that happened at Candy's restaurant got brought up. If you don't know, Candy's nephew, who works at her restaurant, he was shot in the arm by another co-worker of his at Blaze. Last week on the episode, they were at the restaurant. He had on a sling, and they kind of addressed it a little bit. And so Drew shares, well, I was at the restaurant 2 days before the shooting happened. And so I just wanted to, reach out to you, Kandi, and, see what was going on with the incident. So when she says incident, Marlo gets upset and says, no, you mean the shooting. And so in her confessional, Marlo says that she was triggered, that Drew did not say shooting, but she said incident because Marlo had a nephew who worked at OOG at some point and was shot and killed by his neighbor. And I guess Kandi did not respond the way that she wanted to in the incident. So it ended up being that Marlo was yelling at Drew about it, kind of taking her issues out on her. And she was also saying that everyone sweeps Candy's issues under the rug, that people are scared of her and they want to tread lightly and they don't want to bring up Candy's issues. So then Marlo just kind of takes it to the left. We'll see how that plays out. So let me know also how you think about those situations down in the comments as well. But I can't let this end without giving a special positive story. we see that Sonya and Drew end up making up during the scene at the City Winery. They had some back and forth with Drew calling Sonya a flip-flopper, Sonya not liking that. They put their issues out on the table, and for once, okay, it turned into something positive. They ended up hugging it out. So will that last? We'll see. I mean, this episode I feel like was filled with a lot that we could take. The beginning was a little fluffy, but I think as we got toward the end, especially as we got to Drew's performance, that's where things got interesting. And it seems like next week's episode is going to be just as interesting too. Like we even see Sheree getting a sonogram. Don't know what that's about. And we didn't see a lot of Sheree this episode, but it seems like there's going to be more on the way. We'll see if we get more with her situation with Martell Hope from Love and Marriage Huntsville. But that's my recap for this week. So again, let me know what you guys think. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. And while you are down there, like the video, subscribe. Some things that you'll be seeing in the future. We'll have some guests coming on to give their thoughts and their commentary. But this is just an introduction to the Housewives News Network. So I look forward to seeing you next time.